How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I want to talk about NNDM because they just had their earnings announcement. They reported earnings and then they had a conference call. And we have kind of a mixed bag when it comes to this stock. Now, it is up 2% right now, but that's because it's moving up very quickly as the market opens. It was actually down about 3% on the earnings call. So I want to cover what they said. I want to go through some of the questions because the CEO talked about a lot, honestly. He hit on a lot of different things, a lot of good questions from people calling in, and I want to hit on all that. But before we do, if you guys don't mind hitting the like button, I really appreciate that. Please hit subscribe if you haven't done that already. There's a link down below to WeBull, so if you sign up and deposit $100, you can get a couple free stocks worth up to $1,850. Also, a link down there to BlockFi. So I know a lot of people have been kind of stressed over the last couple of weeks with all the different price movements in the market, all the volatility. So in case you want an 8.6% interest rate on some of your cryptocurrencies, you can check out that link below to BlockFi. Also, there is a link down there to my Patreon to see exactly when I buy and sell different stocks. I bought Tattooed Chef yesterday after their earnings announcement. So in case you're interested in seeing what I'm buying, also I do videos pretty much every day answering people's questions now. You can check out that link down below. So NNDM sitting around $9.55. Definitely a company that was hit hard over the last couple of weeks with all the volatility in the market because it's down about 43%. Now they just had their fourth quarter earnings announcement here. You can see that they reported revenues of about 1.98 million, which is actually a lot better than they had throughout the year, because they had about 3.4 million for the full year. The company ended the fourth quarter with about $671 million in cash and bank deposits, and their fourth quarter loss was about 17.4 million. We ended 2020 with a strong balance sheet of $671 million in cash and bank deposits, thanks to the equity offering we concluded during the year. Now, they have about 1.5 billion at the end of February, so just keep that in mind. So don't get it mixed up there. We recognize revenues of about 3.4 million, which is lower than last year due to the effect of the pandemic, but better than we originally expected. They raised a total gross proceed of $710 million in public offerings. The revenues were affected again by the pandemic. Here they break it down a little bit more into some of their different expenses. They had R&D expenses of about 3.7 million compared to 1.5 million in the fourth quarter of 2019 and 2.5 million in the third quarter. The increase was due to both the fourth quarter 2019 and third quarter, resulting primarily from an increase in payroll and related expenses. Now, I'm not going to break down all these here, but basically they had a lot of expenses. It was less than the third quarter overall. You can see the net loss for the fourth quarter was 17.4 million or 20 cents per share compared to 1.3 or 35 cents per share in the fourth quarter of 2019 and 20.7 million or 45 cents per share in the third quarter of 2020. Now, this has been a difficult year for them in some ways. In other ways, it's been an explosive year because they have so much cash now. They're valued so much higher than they were last year. Let's take a look at the 1 year here. This company was valued at $1 last year. Now it's valued at almost $10. And they had some really, really good questions for the CEO here. So the first question here was, do you have enough cash? They were asking the CEO, after all these equity offerings, you want to acquire another company, do you have enough cash? And he said, yes. So he really didn't say anything else at first. He just said yes. But he explained, yeah, we have enough cash. We don't need any more at this point. Can you give revenue guidance for 2021? No. He said straight up, no, he can't give revenue guidance. Didn't really elaborate on that. The same guy is asking these different questions here. Are you working with major auto manufacturers? Are there any of those relationships that you can talk about? He said, yes, we are working with these manufacturers, but we will announce them in the future. We can't really get into it now. So hopefully that is something that comes out. If they do announce that, I think it will be big. Again, my brother-in-law worked at GM, and I've said this a couple times, but he worked at GM in Detroit, and they used a lot of 3D printing machines, especially for R&D, like just for their engineers, just so that they didn't have to wait too long. Like just they could use the 3D printer, get the prototype, and then go back and forth with it. They said, isn't the pandemic getting better going to make for better revenue in 2021? So he said that the virus wasn't getting better. It's actually getting worse, at least from what he saw. So he said Europe is still shut down. US is kind of similar. There's still a lot of disruption right now. A lot of their European companies aren't buying because of this. And they just said, yeah, I don't think that we can give any future guidance, which actually sent the stock down pretty well when he said that. So he said we can't give any future guidance for 2021 revenues at this point, or anything really in 2021. He couldn't speak to that. Now, he said he's looking at buying companies in Central Europe for the manufacturing side. So he said there are a couple different kinds of companies he could buy, but other types of companies like I think he said the chemical side of companies weren't as good as what they do already. So he was talking about really focusing on the manufacturing side for his acquisition. They also said, or they also got this asked to them, wouldn't the machines sell better from the pandemic due to manufacturing supply chain issues? Like all these companies are worried now that whoever they work with is going to shut down. Wouldn't they actually be more likely to buy? Which is something that I've been wondering for a while here. And he said, no, this is really for early adapters. This isn't like something that you go throw on a manufacturing side. This is more for R&D. Again, this is kind of why I talked about with GM, right? They're not buying 10,000 of these to put on their product lines. They're buying 30 of these for their engineers. He says, this is not for large manufacturing. Another person asked, Warren Buffett talks about the importance of buying a good company for an acquisition. Are you looking to buy part of a company or looking to buy a full company? He said, we're really just interested in taking 100% of the company. They don't want to buy parts of different companies and do that. They want to buy 100% of a company, and they want to buy multiple companies. So that's kind of something interesting. I think he might have already hit on that, but to hear him say that again, I think we're getting closer to the acquisition. He said that he's talking to a lot of different companies about this, and hopefully we'll get some news here soon. Now, the stock is taking well to this conference call. It's up about 5.3% since the market opened. However, it was down in the pre-market. We're seeing a whole increase in the market right now. A lot of stocks are green. It's kind of nice to see, honestly, after the last 2 weeks. Now, this week has been pretty green, but a lot of people have been asking me about NNDM. Now, there are several different companies in this space that you can take a look at. A1 is another one that ARK Invest has been buying, but NNDM is an interesting one because of their $1.5 million in cash. You're essentially buying the intellectual property for about $0.8 billion, and then you get the cash, the $1.5 billion also. So right now, you aren't really paying that much for the company. You're buying a lot of cash with your cash. So hopefully they can acquire some other company. And I could see this going up from here. I could definitely see it because right now it is pretty cheap compared to where it was just a month ago. However, I'm still not buying in. I'm just cautious about this company as they kept on buying or diluting shares more and more. But I do see the benefit of it too. I just think that there are better places to put my money right now. But I really think this company could do well in the future, especially once 3D printing is rolled out a little bit more and becomes a little bit more mature. But I also think that right now, besides R&D, there isn't a huge market for this. So it's going to be hard to create a lot of sales, in my opinion, just because, again, like even the large companies won't be buying thousands of these. Just my opinion. But of course, do your own research. I could be completely wrong. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Looks like we might pass $10 on NNDM, which is nice. If you guys want to check out the link down below to WeBull, you can definitely check that out. Definitely check out the link to BlockFi below too, and my Patreon to see exactly when I buy and sell different stocks. I did a good amount of buying yesterday, so if you want to know what I bought and you want to be able to ask me some questions, I've been doing videos where I answer some people's questions. Definitely check that out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.